Ooh, what's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG WTF LOL FTWBRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWF in the year 2001. More importantly, we are booking the Invasion angle. Tonight we'll be running WCW Thursday Night Nitro. We're booking up to the next pay-per-view, Unforgiven. And let's just get started, shall we? We had a locker room incident, unfortunately. One half of the tag team champions, WCW tag team champions, I should say, Scott Steiner showed up late to the show, breaking one of our locker room rules, I suppose. I think that is actually a locker room rule, that no one's allowed to show up late or something. We gave him a stern warning, which actually saw his personality get worse. So that's a shame. Either way, though, let's go ahead and run the show, shall we? We have a total of 2 pre-show matches. We have a solid C rating here, and a match that gets a 62 rating as well. Pre-show bout that had decent wrestling, not much weighing heat. ECW's Raven and Chavo Guerrero Jr., the newest member of Team ECW, I guess, or the one person who wasn't actually an original ECW member, I should say. Either way, go on to defeat Chronic, Brian Adams, and Brian Clark, when Raven defeated Clark with the pile driver. Of course, Raven was the superior athlete compared to everybody in this match. Adams was off his game. Not that I care. Chavo getting up there. 60 performance. Better than Brian Clark and Brian Adams today, so good for him. Raven with the 71. I should have probably turned him a little while back. I'm going to go ahead and just turn him now, even though it's not really a big gimmick. But he's officially part of Team ECW, so he's kind of like officially a face now. He got a rating of great on his old school face gimmick, so good for him there. And the turn was a complete success, so Chavo Guerrero is now a face. Good on him there. No worker improvements. Our main event of the pre-show does a impressive 77 solid B rating here, and a decent pre-show match. Chuck Palumbo defeated Canyon with the torture rack. Canyon was better than Chuck in the in-ring performance area with a 76 compared to Palumbo's 66, so a whole 10 points ahead of Chuck here. But Canyon's pretty great. He's impressed me. Let's go ahead and start off the show. We started off with a 86 B+ rating here, nerds and geeks. WCW Thursday Night Nitro begins with Shane McMahon alongside the WCW World Champion Booker T. They're making their way down to the ring. Once in the ring, Shane McMahon takes the mic and he wastes no time getting right to the point. He says, "Now last week, as I'm sure you all know by now, my dad took his next shot in this war when he hired Paul Heyman to bring back ECW. Now, Paul, I know you're here, so let's not waste any time. Why don't you come out here and let's talk?" That's when the ECW/Paul Heyman's theme song hits, and out comes Paul Heyman alongside Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Sandman, of course, the 4 superstars who debuted last week and are kind of like the main 4 representatives of ECW, considering they were the ones Heyman went out and hired. Heyman takes the mic and he says, Shane, I bet you regret embarrassing me on live TV when you fired me a few weeks back. Shane then replies and he says, actually, yeah, I do. I'm not my dad, Paul. You see, I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. I shouldn't have fired you. I should have embraced you. I should have offered you a spot here on WCW. And you and I could have formed an alliance and gotten rid of my dad once and for all. And then Heyman goes, while Shane, as tempting of an offer as that may be, I'd be lying if I said my only reason for this invasion was, your firing of me. You see, I've always hated WCW. Back when I was building up ECW, your father, Vince McMahon, gave me a chance, lended me money when I desperately needed it. He even let ECW invade Monday Night Raw. What did WCW do? They stole my talent. They stole the cruiserweights from me. You stole my job from me. And now we're here, and ECW will keep invading Nitro week after week after week until we get our shot. That's when Shane responds, your shot. What does that mean? Your shot? Heyman, well, Shane, I'm glad you asked. You see, Unforgiven is a pretty spot-on name because I will never forgive WCW for pushing the knife deeper in the wound of ECW, and at Unforgiven, I wanted to be ECW versus WCW, topping it off for a WCW World Championship shot. Shane, kind of baffled now, caught off guard, says, You're joking, right? You must have been smoking with your ECW buddies backstage if you believe for a second that I will not only let your untrained, unsafe backyard wrestlers step in the ring with my guys and risk the safety of my guys, but a world title shot? Did Sandman spike that Kool-Aid that everyone says you love to drink, Paul? Heyman says, well, that's fine, Shane. I can't force you to give us a shot. I mean, that's what WCW has been known for. Anyway, stealing talent from the WWF or ECW and then pushing them on TV while lesser-known guys get the shaft. But mark my words, Shane O'Mac, ECW will not stop. You will feel our presence tonight, next week, and the week after until WCW is dead. And then Shane, goes on. He's about to say something. That's when Booker T, walks over to Shane, starts whispering something in his ear, and Shane says, You know what, Paul? You want to kill WCW? Well, you know what? I want to kill ECW just as bad. So I'll give you your shot tonight on one condition. Your 4 guys have to win all 4 of their matches tonight. And if they lose, if just one of them lose, then ECW goes back to the grave it crawled out of. And as for your title shot and a main event, if your 3 backyard wrestlers somehow pull out a win, then I'll put the number 1 contendership on the line for Book's title. Are you a gambling man, Paul? Heyman then responds saying, Well, I'm not sure if I'm feeling buzzed from the Kool-Aid that Sandman spike, or if Rob just had some of the good stuff, but I'll take your challenge, Shane. You're on. And then that sets up, I guess, the theme of the night, as we will see Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Sandman all in individual matches tonight, as each of them have to win their 4 matches leading up. So if let's say Sandman opens up the night, loses his first match, ECW's done. Pretty much how that goes. Paul Heyman, he was superb without the script, because Shane McMahon likes to work without a script, so he was superb. Paul was great. We already know that. It got the show off to a strong start, got the crowd hotter. Booker T was good. Gained some heat for Invasion Part 2, gained heat for the Hardcore title storyline, and there you go. RVD's also improving in acting. You can't complain. We then move on to our opening match of the night, ECW's first shot in a bout that had decent wrestling but little heat. Hold on. Hold the phone. I beg your pardon? I didn't know that I did that. Is he going to be mad at me now? Wow. See, I was wondering why Lance Storm was so cool with just losing to Tommy Dreamer. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Is he still mad? No. That's irritating. By the way, we got to restart the stuff. I don't remember what this did before, but I got a 62 rating. Chavo didn't do the 60 he had before, but he was still better than both members of Chronic. Raven with the 71. That's a shame. He got an average rating instead of a great rating on his gimmick now. That's a shame. Still a good turn for Chavo Guerrero, though, nonetheless. And then this still does the... No, it did better. It was a 77B rating. Now it's a 78. I think so, at least. Canyon still better than Palumbo here. But Palumbo doing a little better. Not 10 points anymore. Only 9 points now. This does about the same. I think it was an 86. I'm not entirely sure. It looks like... I think it might have been an 86 because it definitely seems like it got brought down a little bit because Shane apparently struggled when going off script here. So that's a shame. It did gain heat to all three storylines this time, and RVD is still improving in acting. We then go to our opening bout, like we were saying before, getting a 68 C+ rating, and a bout that had decent wrestling but little heat. Tommy Dreamer goes on to defeat Lance Storm in 9 minutes, 44 seconds with the pile driver. I gotta change that. Both Raven and Tommy Dreamer have pile drivers for some reason. I gotta change those to those DDTs. We had a distraction from Raven in this match. Remember, Raven and Lance Storm seemed to have started a little bit of a rivalry last week. So Dreamer opens up the night, gets ECW, I should say, their first victory in hopefully the next 4 matches, or I guess now 3 matches, after a little bit of interference from fellow ECW superstar Raven. What I imagine here is Lance Storm looking strong, maybe getting ready to hit the last call super kick. Raven's music hits or the lights go off and, you hear a bunch of crow noises. Lance Storm turns his, attention away for just 1 second, letting Tommy Dreamer go ahead and hit the DDT, or I guess pile driver, on Lance Storm to defeat the WCW Canadian Champion and move on. And hopefully keep ECW alive. Dreamer with the 52, a little bit of a pet project, as is almost all 4 of these ECW guys, and Storm with the 76, so vastly over him, but definitely, I feel the reason I chose Lance Storm is because, and the reason why I chose all the guys tonight, by the way, minus the main event, is because the people who are fighting the ECW guys, in my opinion, are also good wrestlers who can hopefully help improve them as well, or make them look good, because I have most of them being protected in the matches. Gain heat for the Storm Raven storyline as well. We then go to a 74 B- here. Tommy Dreamer, of course, he's celebrating his victory after, moving on, getting ECW their first victory of the night against Lance Storm, and then when Diamond Dallas Page's music hits, and out comes DDP, the WCW People's Champion, who comes down into the ring with a mic in hand, and he's clapping. So he's clapping, he gets in the ring, and he says, "Congrats! No, really, congrats!" What was your name again? Tony Sleeper? But no, really, congrats, Lance Storm's one tough son of a gun. I was hoping that I'd run into one of you ECW clowns today since, last week you and 3 other men put your nose in my business right when I was discussing my title shot with my boss. And for that, Tony, you must pay. And that's when DDP hits the Diamond Cutter out of nowhere on Tommy Dreamer, laying him down after his match. And just pretty much, I would say this kind of starts the Dreamer DDP storyline that we are going to have going on here. But still, DDP kind of getting his revenge after last week we saw Dreamer debut alongside RVD, Sandman, and Sabu to pretty much, I wouldn't say cost DDP anything really, but he was in the midst of a discussion, as he said right here, with Shane O'Mac about getting his title shot against Booker T. So apparently both Heenan and Tenay were weak tonight. That's unfortunate. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the Tommy Dreamer match, but for every ECW match from here on out, Paul Heyman is going to be a special guest commentator for every one of them. So if you see any ECW superstar like Tommy Dreamer, so on and so forth, Paul Heyman will be an announcer right there. Dreamer looked lost out there, but that's to be expected since DDP is so much more popular than him. Page was fantastic, and there you have it. Moving on to the next segment, we go to a 100 rating, A-star 100 rating. We're backstage, we're in Shane McMahon's office. We see he's talking to the commissioner of Thursday Night Nitro, Lord Steven Regal, and Shane is just like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it, Steve. Thanks to that weasel Raven, Tommy Dreamer beats Lance Storm and keeps ECW alive? For now, at least. But Regal, you got Sandman in the next match, and that's when Regal interrupts him. He says, "No need to say it anymore, Mr. McMahon. Tonight I will do Sandman. I will do to Sandman what Mr. McMahon, let me restart this. I will do to Sandman what Mark Jindrak will do to one half of the WWF Tag Team Champions tonight. Test when he takes him on later tonight. You see, Sandman is an amateur, and tonight he will be embarrassed when I show him what a true professional looks like." And that's when Regal starts walking out, and Shane's just shaking his head. He's impressed, like, that's right. And then we have DDP walk in, and Shane says, "Paige, I've got to say, I know you and I have been at odds as of late, but what you just did, that was great, man. You went out there, and you put Dreamer in his place, and you showed ECW just what they're up against tonight." And then Paige responds back, and he says, "Exactly. These extreme punks have no clue what they're in for." Oh, I never saved, so whatever. Deleting all that was pointless. Which brings me to tonight's possible number one contenders match, if it happens. I'm the guy you're putting in that match, right? And then Shane responds, after what you just did to Dreamer, you're damn right I am. If ECW somehow manages to win their next 2 matches, then it'll be you versus Sabu or RVD, because we already know that Sandman's going to be taking on Regal, so it's either Sabu or RVD. And then Shane continues on by saying, in tonight's main event for the WCW World Championship. Paige then responds, asking a pretty good question here, saying, and if the match doesn't happen, if Regal beats Sandman or someone beats RVD or Sabu, am I still the number one contender? Shane, I got hiccups all of a sudden, this sucks. Shane then smiles and he says, when Regal beats Sandman, you will officially become the number one contender for Booker T's title, and you'll get your shot at Unforgiven. And then DDP smiles and he says, I'm glad we're finally seeing things the same way, Mr. McMahon. And the two shake on it, and that confirms that later tonight in our main event, we will see Diamond Dallas Page battle Sabu or Diamond Dallas Page battle RVD for the number one contendership for Booker T's title, if it happens. And let's be honest, we all know it most likely will happen. But you never know, I could swerve you. Either way, Shane McMahon, at this time, working the crowd well, using his freedom to the advantage. Regal also good without a script. Good on both of you. DDP was alright. Still got a 100 segment. That's not bad. We then move on to our next match, which gets a 55 C-. A little bit unfortunate here, but we'll get to that when we get to that. In a terrible match, Sandman does indeed go on to defeat Lord Steven Regal. Let's ignore that this says a flying leg drop. I'll tell you what I would imagine my finisher to be. He goes on to defeat Lord Steven Regal in 7 minutes, 40 seconds with the pinfall after we have a distraction from Trish Stratus. So I'd imagine, of course, we already know TNA is feuding with Power Plant. Regal is kind of like the manager of Jindrak and Stasiak because they're like his bodyguards. Stratus manages both Albert and Test. So there's a little bit of a feud going on between the two. And we got Sandman out there, and he's taking on Lord Steven Regal. I'd imagine Regal getting ready, putting on the brass knucks, getting ready to punch Sandman and knock him out with those brass knuckles. That's when Trish Stratus comes out, and she's distracting the referee and Regal to an extent, mostly the referee. And Regal's distracted. That leads to Sandman, who has his Singapore cane, trademark Singapore cane. Regal turns around, gets decked with the cane, and that's when, Trish stops distracting the referee because she sees Regal's down for the count. Sandman covers him. 1, 2, 3. Gets the victory over Regal, moving on and keeping ECW alive. Unfortunately for Sandman and Regal here, they didn't click, and it showed in their performance. I think that's the second person Sandman didn't click with. I believe the last time was whoever he faced on Sunday Night Heat. Can't remember, though. Jamie Noble? Maybe it was because he was drunk, too. I don't remember. Sandman with that 36, so definitely not the best in-ring performer on the company. And Regal with the 59 here, so that's a bit of unfortunate. Did also lose some heat for TNA and Power Plant, but I have a feeling we'll get that back in a bit. Sandman is improving in performance, and Regal as well is improving in performance, so there you have it. Out of curiosity, let's look at Sandman. Good momentum. Oh my God, Sandman. His drinking has affected. Was he drunk again? I'm gonna be pissed. Yep, Sandman was drunk. Of fucking course he was. I'm gonna end up having to send his ass to rehab. Sandman was drunk. Fucking asshole. Seems like every fucking time we put the guy in a match, he's drunk. He's fine when we do Wrangles, but he's drunk in a match. I'm gonna have to fucking send his ass to rehab or some shit. That pisses me off. God damn it, Sandman, you fucking jackass. Either way, we have an angry Lord Regal in the after commercial break. He's pissed off after he just, got screwed over by Trish and lost to Sandman. Probably pissed that he had to work with the drunk Sandman as well. He approaches Mark Jindrak, who's in his office, and he says, if that she-devil, Trish Stratus, thinks she's gotten the last laugh, then she's got another thing coming for her. Mr. Jindrak, tonight, in your match against that heathen Test, I want you to make an example of him. End his career if you must. I don't care what you do. Just don't disappoint me. This helped gain some heat back for the TNA Power Plant, but Regal is pissed, and he's telling Jindrak, I want you to send the message pretty much, because Trish just screwed me over. But before we can go to that, oh no! Just fantastic. We then go to a bout that had decent wrestling, but not much weighing heat. Sabu goes on to defeat Rey Mysterio Jr., the current Cruiserweight Champion, in 10 minutes, 15 seconds with the triple jump moonsault. Jesus, Sabu. After we had a distraction from Chavo Guerrero Jr., so Chavo's still, making sure that he's making it clear that, I want that Cruiserweight Championship, costing Rey Mysterio this match here, and keeping ECW alive with Sabu getting the victory. And that confirms also tonight that we know now our main event will be RVD DDP for the number one contendership. The reason I said oh no, though, and I'm sure some of you guys may have spotted it, is Rey Mysterio has sustained a torn freaking quad. And pretty sure a torn quad is exactly what Triple H sustained around this time, and that had him out for months. So that means Rey Mysterio is probably going to be out 4 months, which means we're going to have to vacate the Cruiserweight Championship. And isn't that just lovely? Sabu with the 64, Rey Mysterio with the 75. Cruiserweight Championship feud gained heat, but we're probably going to have to change it up a little bit, because, yep, Sabu has heat now because he injured Rey Mysterio with a botched move. Thanks a lot, Sabu. You and Sandman are just dolls. We then go to a 91A rating here, Nerds and Geeks. A solid A, something to help boost my morale up right now, because I'm just in a lovely mood after Sandman showed up drunk and Sabu injured one of my future stars. We're backstage. We see Ric Flair. He's, partying in his locker room, drinking it up, doing normal Ric Flair things. And that's when Edge busts into it, of course, looking for, Chris Benoit. And we have Rick. He says, "What the hell? The hell do you think you're doing in here?" Edge says, "Well, if it isn't the Nature Boy. I was hoping to find Chris Benoit in here, but, you'll do. I've got a message, and I want you to deliver it to the champion himself. I just got word that at Unforgiven, it's official. Benoit and I will battle over either the IC or the US Championship. That one's up to you two. So tell the champ that I'll see him at the pay-per-view." And then Ric Flair's laughing, and he says, "Why don't you tell him yourself?" And then that's when Edge turns around, and we see the United States Intercontinental Champion and King of the Ring, Chris Benoit. He's standing there, and both Edge and Benoit start to duke it out, battling with each other back and forth. And it looks like at one point that Edge is going to, get the advantage, start winning this brawl. But the Nature Boy has his, protege's back, and he slams, hits Edge over the head with a wine bottle, of course, what he was drinking, whatever. Taking Edge out for the equation, for the brief moment to allow Chris Benoit to put the finishing touch on him as he grabs him from behind, hits the German suplex, and puts him through a table that, kind of like just a normal table that everybody has in their homes. It's just like set up there in the locker room to make it look nice. And the champion and Nature Boy leave the locker room while Edge just lays there unconscious. All three announcers were weak, unfortunately. Benoit was fantastic, and Edge and Benoit gaining some heat. Benoit's also showing more charisma. You gotta love it when Benoit's improving on stuff like that. We move on to an 83 B+ rating here. We're backstage. We're with Paul Heyman and Rob Van Dam. As I've already mentioned, RVD, it's officially kind of confirmed right here that RVD is going to be facing DDP later on tonight for the number one contendership, considering Dreamer, Sandman, and Sabu have all had their matches. He's getting ready for the match. Heyman's back there with him, and he says, "All right, Rob, Tommy won his match. Sandman and Sabu won their matches. It's all up to you now. All you've got to do is go out there and beat DDP, and you've got Booker T for the WCW Championship at Unforgiven. But, and I don't want to put more pressure on you, but I can't stress this enough. If you lose, then this is all over. We fail Mr. McMahon, and ECW's dead once again, and you, Tommy, Sandman, Sabu, all can go back to finding jobs on the indie scene. So I'm sure you understand just how important this match is for all of us." And that's when Rob finally goes, "Paul, chill, man. Trust me. I know the stakes are high, but I'm RVD. And he's just DDP. I've got this, man. I've never let you down before, and I don't plan to now. Let's go show WCW why I'm the whole effing show." And that leads us, not leading us to the match. We have a match in between, but pretty much a setup for the upcoming match between RVD and DDP. We then go to one of our scheduled matches of the night. We go to a 75 B- rating here. I was hoping for a B, but a B- isn't too bad. In a decent match, Mark Jindrak does go on to defeat Test with the Mark of Perfection, but let's just say not with the Mark of Perfection, by pinfall after we had Lord Steven Regal interfere. So remember, Regal and Trish are down here for ringside because they're managers. Back and forth, I believe I had Test making Jindrak look strong or something. No, I had Test keep strong because he was mad I had him losing. Pretty much what I'd have going on here is at one point, the referee get distracted, maybe by Trish again somehow, which leads to Regal catching a Test off guard here, hits him with the brass knucks, taking him down and leading Jindrak to get the victory over his opponent at the pay-per-view. There you have it. Jindrak was off his game, unfortunately. Test with an 80, Jindrak with the 60, so a whole 20 points ahead of him. TNA storyline gaining the heat as well that it needed back. We then go to an 88 B+, another backstage segment here. We see Kurt Angle. He's walking in the hallway when he runs into Stacy Keibler. And Angle says, "Oh, Stacy, I was hoping I'd run into you today. You see, since you love to hide behind Palumbo and just demand him to do all your dirty work for you, I just wanted to ask, what the hell is exactly your problem with Kurt Angle? What the hell did I ever do to you?" And then Stacy says, "Oh, sweetie, you think you're important to me that I'd hold some sort of grudge? Please, honey, I don't waste my time with losers. Just ask Sean O'Hare, wherever the hell he is. You ask what my problem is? There is no problem. The only reason Chuck and I have an interest in you is your name value alone. Not only are you a former WWF World Champion, but you're the only Olympic gold medalist in professional wrestling history. And that is why Chuck and I have an interest in you. Because when Chuck beats you, then his stock rises even more. You're just the first victim. Don't flatter yourself." And then that's when Stacy walks away just smiling and laughing, leaving Kurt there kind of confused, but now he knows exactly why they're kind of targeting him now. Either way, Stacy was underwhelming, but that's okay. It still gained the heat and kept in mind that Kurt and Chuck are, feuding because I didn't have it on Raw. We then go to a quick match that does a 79 solid B rating. Hell yes. And about that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. The Giant goes on to defeat everybody's lovable loser, Hugh Morris, in 5 minutes, 48 seconds with the choke slam. Giant with a 92, Morris with a 66. Morris is also improving in performance, so there you have it. We then lead... I fucking forgot to put a segment in between this. Alright, well, I'm not restarting this a second time, especially since we're so far into this. But just remember that there's supposed to be a segment in between that's most likely going to end the show. Because I'm, so good. Either way, we go to what was supposed to be the main event, which isn't the main event now. It's kind of like the pre-main event, but what the fuck ever. We go to a B-76. That's to be expected. Decent match. Rob Van Dam does indeed go ahead and get the victory over Diamond Dallas Page in 13 minutes, 30 seconds with a 5-star frog splash, following an interference from Tommy Dreamer. So the way I'd imagine this having to go down is, it looks like an open match. Both superstars are looking good. Forgot to mention this before. Jindrak and Test with our wild brawl. This is the storytelling of the match of the night, I should say. Either way, back and forth between these two. And when things are starting to look good for Diamond Dallas Page, but the referee's out or something, DDP, that's when Dreamer or someone comes running out. Maybe referee got knocked down by RVD or something. DDP moved out of the way. RVD took the referee down. Diamond cutter from Page. And now it's 1, 2, but the referee's nowhere to be seen. The referee's out pretty much or whatever. And then that leads to Dreamer coming to run down, getting his revenge on Diamond Dallas Page, hitting him with his DDT. And then RVD gets up in time, hits the 5-star frog splash. 1, 2, 3. RVD is the number 1 contender, and we can officially confirm that at Unforgiven, Booker T will defend his WCW World Championship against ECW's Rob Van Dam. Taking a risk here, but that's what this whole ECW storyline was pretty much going to be, is a risk. And as we've seen with Rey Mysterio and Sandman's drunkenness, sometimes they come back and bite us in the ass. But, nonetheless, we will fix it. as we have to, as you would do in real life. So far, really only 3 matches confirmed. So RVD was off his game. Thanks a lot, RVD. So not only is DDP most likely pissed at me now, and I'm going to have to pay him a lot of money because he didn't want to put you over, but you were off your game, kind of justifying him. RVD with a 60, DDP with an 81. RVD's improving in technical. I want to check out the dirt sheet, check out RVD at all, see if he's, you know, doing his thing. I'm pretty triggered right now. And here was the segment that was supposed to be in between these two, but it wasn't. I guess it's okay because we end off the show technically with the 99 A-star. But remember, this was supposed to be between the 2 matches. I just idiotically didn't catch myself. Either way, the Giants match with Hugh Morris is over, and but instead of the Giants music playing, the Undertaker's music plays instead, and out comes the dead man racing down on his bike, stopping at the end of the walkway. Taker then turns off the bike and he sits on the bike sitting there just staring at the Giant. That's when Giant takes the mic and he says, "Now what the hell do you want? Why come out here and start running your mouth? You saw what that got you on Monday Night Raw, when I whipped your ass. You are in my league, dead man. I'm done with you. I have nothing left to prove to you." Taker then responds saying, "You see, Giant, that's where you're wrong. Yeah, you did kick my ass at King of the Ring and on Raw. But you didn't finish the job, because here I am. And another thing, the only reason you get the upper hand is because every time I start whipping that giant ass of yours, you run away like a giant bitch. At Unforgiven, Giant, there is no running away. There is no backing out. Come Unforgiven, I'm turning my yard into your worst nightmare. Giant, why don't you call Shawn Michaels? Why don't you call Mick Foley?" Hold on real quick, guys. Why don't you call Mick Foley and get some advice? Because Giant and Unforgiven, you and I are going to hell. Hell in a cell. And Giant, inside Hell in a Cell, not only are you going to get an ass kicking of a lifetime from me, but you're going to feel the wrath of Satan's structure. Because what I do to you is not only for me, but for what you did to Cain. Giant and Unforgiven, you will rest in peace. And then his eyes roll in the back of his head. He throws his arm in the air. Lights kind of go out, come back on. I guess he rides out, as my buddy Chris wrote it, but take what you like. I'd like to say maybe his lights go out and then lights come back on and Taker's not there, showing that he's still got some of that mythical power that he always had. And that goes ahead and confirms yet another match for Unforgiven. We now know that we will see the Dead Man and the Giant inside Hell in a Cell for what might be the first time. I don't think these two ever actually have fought each other inside the Hell in a Cell match. But whatever. Giant, The Undertaker, not the Good Father. Hell, not heel. Technically, I guess there is a heel in a cell. Hell in a Cell, the Giant representing WCW, battling The Undertaker. So there we got 4 matches confirmed. We end off the show to get I think that was a B+. I skipped it way too freaking quick, of course, but it was like a B+ rating. We can go ahead and do it right here and see what we got. 86 B+. Okay, that's what we had. Not the best show in the world. Here we go. Bad news came in for the fans of Rey Mysterio Jr. last night, as it is being reported that he sustained a torn quad during a match. How long? Look at this. A botched spot from Sabu. Thanks, Sabu. Asshole. 5 months and 3 weeks? Great. New Japan still setting them sights. Fabulous Moolah is retiring. So Regal was annoyed that Sandman was drunk. That doesn't surprise me. We already know Rey Mysterio was injured. Thanks a lot, Sabu. Brian Clark says we need to book him strongly. I don't care. Regal says we need to book him strongly. I kind of do care. And Kurt Angle says Brian Clark needs to learn to sell. I agree, Kurt. Alright, Sandman. I gave you the benefit of the doubt last time. I said, you know what? I knew what we were getting into. I'm just going to give him a stern warning and let that be that. I could fine you. I could fine you and show you that, this is your punishment, and I think I might just do that. I'm going to fine you this time, but your next step, you're being sent to rehab. So you're going to get fined this time. Nothing noteworthy happened of it, but you're being fined this time, and if you fuck up again, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. All right, here we go. Let's give DDP a bunch of money. Guess we're gonna do 20,000 because that's what I landed on. Still angry. Great. Oh, I'm so peeved right now. $20,000 and you're still angry at me? Get over it. You had to put over somebody. It's your job. Shut up. I'm pissed. I guess before we end off the episode, we can go ahead and vacate the championship. Since Rey Mysterio's injured. Go to medical. You can see right here. 5 months. I'm so salty right now. So let's go ahead and vacate the title, and then I'm just going to probably end it right here. Vacate the title. Rey Mysterio Jr. I hate how it doesn't say vacated. Like it should say that right there, vacated. But whatever. So let's look at storylines, not stables. Storylines. See how everything's going. Guess we can alter this description. It's going to be kind of a surprise that Billy was going to be in this, but, now it's not too much of a surprise because who else would I have in this match? And let's go ahead and remove Rey Mysterio. There we go. Moving on. You're lucky you're still in that, Sandman. Alright, well, there you have it, Nerds and Geeks. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, my name is OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB, and I will see you guys for Sunday Night Heat. Or for those of you guys who don't watch Sunday Night Heat, I'll see you guys for Monday Night Raw. So until then, have a good day. I'll definitely be in a better mood then. Till then, have a good one.